Okay, welcome back, Attorney Thomas Burton, and today I want to continue my video on the SBA loan series, basically the Paycheck Protection Program, which is what a lot of folks are interested in applying for. And I want to pick up where I left off yesterday, answering some frequently asked questions with this new fact sheet that came out from SBA. So one I didn't get to yesterday is the question about what do you do if you have an employee making more than $100,000 per year? And they ask the CARES Act, which, as a reminder, the CARES Act is the federal legislation creating this program, excludes from the definition of payroll costs any employee compensation in excess of an annual salary of $100,000. Does that exclusion apply to all employee benefits of monetary value? So they're asking, the CARES Act is saying you can't pay someone more than $100,000 per year using this Paycheck Protection Program, but does that include benefits? And the answer from the SBA is no. The exclusion of compensation in excess of $100,000 annually applies only to cash compensation, not to non-cash benefits, including employer contributions to defined benefit or defined contribution retirement plans, payment or provision of employee benefits consisting of group healthcare coverage, or payment of state and local taxes assessed on compensation of employees. So there's your answer. You're limited to paying $100,000, but you can use the proceeds of the PPP loan for other benefits. Next question, do PPP loans cover paid sick leave? Yes, Paycheck Protection Program covers payroll costs, including costs for employee vacation, parental, family, medical, and sick leave. So that's good news as well. If you apply for these funds for employees, you can use it for sick leave. Now, here's another good question. They write, my small business is a seasonal business whose activity increases from April to June. Considering activity from that period would be a more accurate reflection of my business's operations. However, my small business was not fully ramped up on February 15th of 2020. Am I still eligible? The answer is, in evaluating a borrower's eligibility, a lender may consider whether a seasonal borrower was in operation on February 15, 2020, or for an 8-week period between February 15, 2019 and June 30th, 2019. So there's the period they can look at there. And now here's another essential question that I've had a lot of clients wondering. How do you calculate that loan amount? And remember, the Paycheck Protection Program allows you to apply for up to 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. But a lot of people are wondering, how do I figure out that amount? And here's the question on that point. What time period should borrowers use to determine their number of employees and payroll costs to calculate their maximum loan amount? So you may be thinking you've added or subtracted employees since last year. What's the time period? So here's the answer. In general, borrowers can calculate their aggregate payroll costs using data either from the previous 12 months or from calendar year 2019. So they're saying we're in April now, so you can go the previous 12 months, March 2020, and go back 12 months to April of 2019. Or if you want to, you can use calendar year 2019. So I would recommend you look at your figures in your current employee headcount and decide which period makes more sense for you and is a more accurate assessment of the funds you need. Then they go on to say, for seasonal businesses, the applicant may use average monthly payroll for the period between February 15, 2019, or March 1, 2019, and June 30th, 2019. So you could look at 2019, that period between February and June. And here's another key, because I've had clients ask about this. an applicant that was not in business from February 15th, 2019, so last year, to June 30th, 2019, may use the average monthly payroll cost for the period January 1 through February 29th, 2020. So they're answering that question here. If you weren't in business last year, let's say you started your business January 1, they're saying just use that period from January 1 through February 29th, average monthly payroll cost. So that's 2 months, right? So divide it by 2 to get your average, and then multiply that by 2.5. So if you just started your business in 2020, I know it's a rough time for you, but that's the period you're going to use, that period from January 1 through February 29th, 2020, and just base it off of that. For businesses that were operating all of last year, they're giving you the option to either use the last 12 months or to use calendar year 2019, so January through December 2019. It also says borrowers may use their average employment over the same time periods to determine their number of employees for the purposes of applying for an employee-based size standard. So they're saying average your employees, so if those numbers fluctuate, you can do that as well. Alternatively, you can use the SBA's usual calculation, which is the average number of employees per pay period in the 12 completed calendar months prior to the date of the loan application, or the average number of employees for each of the pay periods that the business has been operational, if it has not been operational for 12 months. So again, if you're that new business, you could use that January and February period to calculate the payroll, and then you could use the average number of employees for each of the pay periods that the business has been operational. Again, those 2 months. And hopefully you didn't have a ton of employee turnover in those 2 months, but that would be the way to figure that figure. So I would take a look at this fact sheet. It's really helpful. I'm posting the link in this video again, and my video from yesterday has it as well. And I wanted to point out that they're saying this FAQ sheet does not have the force of law. So again, the CARES Act itself governs, but this is their SBA interpretation of the laws. So I would really use this as your guide to how it's actually being put in place, because I know there's been a lot of questions about the implementation of this program, and they update that FAQ sheet as they go. So check out the FAQ sheet. If you haven't gotten your application in, I would work with your local lender, your current business bank, see if they're making these loans, because I think that will be your best first option to turn to. And then the second thing is, remember that this Friday, the end of this week, is when sole proprietors, independent contractors can also apply for the PPP program. So if you're watching this video, get your application materials ready, and I would have them ready to submit on the date you can apply. So thanks for watching. Stay safe, be well, and we'll see you next time.